there should be in the My Info area, there should be an icon that says My Reports. And the first area that you can go to and look for system reports is Report Hub. So if you go into the Report Hub, you're going to see a list of popular reports based on type of report. So you have employee information reports, the payroll reports, payroll register reports, all types of things. And to make this simple, I'm just going to go to an employee information report. And right now, the default report for this particular user comes up with a bunch of information, and you can see this looks like a spreadsheet. So in order to get this report, I'm just going to kind of go over a couple basic things, but you're actually in the employee area where you can hire an employee. But this area is also good for starting or creating a new report and saving it. So one of the things that can be done here is if I use the three dots on the right, there's an option that says add remove columns. So this is really how you would get into these reports and change the report based on what you want to see, and then we'll show you how to save the report. So what I thought I would do is just create a report with employee birth dates and employee phone numbers, just for an example. So if I go in here, I go to add remove columns, and I will get this interface that looks like, sorry about that. I will get this interface that looks like this. And you can see up at the top, there's current columns. Those are the columns you're seeing. And one of the functions of this is to be able to resort these. So if I decide, you know what, I want the employee external ID to be at the top of the report, I'll check it and I'll move it up to the top. Now we're probably going to get rid of that field in this example, but just to show you, I can move it up top and I can hit apply. Then if you look on the left, you see the employee external IDs on the left. There's no data in there, but the column showed up there. So the first thing I usually do when I go in and I want to create a report is I get rid of the easy way, the columns I don't want. So I don't want external ID, so I'm going to remove that. I don't want their badge number, so I'm going to remove that. And then to do this, you go up to the header, which is here along the top. And there's always going to be a drop down. And that drop down gives you multiple options, including filtering. But we're not going to filter yet. We're just going to just kind of remove the column. So I'm going to remove that column. I don't need the username for this particular report, so I'm going to remove that. Now I can remove one-off columns like this, or I can go into here and remove columns in mass. So if I go back to this interface, I could also check on the columns here that are, is the employee locked? What's the employee region? I'm going to get rid of all these. What's the employee's role? Their status I'm going to keep because you probably want to know that the employee is, the employee is active. I don't need calculated on. I don't need that. I might want to see the manager's name. So I'll remove everything except those and I'll hit apply. Now I'm left with the ones that I kept. Now I want the employee's phone number. So I'll go back and add and remove columns. The top cell allows me to search. So if I type in phone, there's a bunch of fields that have phone numbers. So I'm going to put in the employee's home phone. Employee home phone right there. I'm going to check it and I'm going to click add. And I'm going to hit apply. So now I've got a home phone number. There's only one. I'm going to do one more, and I'm going to do, and I'm going to do their hire date or birth date. I think that's what we said, right? Birth date, employee date, birthday. I'm going to add that to the So now I've got a list of birthdays. I've got some other stuff. Now we can clean things up a little bit if you like. So I'm going to narrow, like a spreadsheet, I'm going to grab this column and I'm going to narrow it up. I'm going to do the same thing with a lot of other fields, just to make it look good. All right, so there we go. Now, one of the most important things when I am creating a report is to save the report if I want to come back. It happens to the best of us, but I've worked in the system for 15, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden I leave the screen and I say, no, do I want to save it? I say no, and all of a sudden it goes back to the old screen and I can't find what I did. So the most important thing is save it. And to save the report, you go up to that ellipse again, those three dots, and you can save view or save view as. And I'm going to discuss a little bit about what each of these means. The save view will save the report usually as the current default report. Now, if I get out of there for a second, if you guys can see up here where I'm highlighting view, it's default. So right now I have a bunch of different options to view reports. These are reports that were created previously. So I could immediately switch to another view, or if I want to add this view, which is birth dates, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to do save, not save view, but save view as, because it's going to be a different name. So it'll, by default, it'll put in a copy, but I'm going to put in here birth dates. And if I want it to be my default, I can check default. So you have the option of when you're in the system, if you don't like the way your employee list screen looks, you can make changes to it and then save it as the name default and check the box default, and it'll save it. So every time you come back to that screen, it will default. For now, the other thing is if you want to share this report with other people in the organization, you can click share and then you can figure out which employees you want to share that report with. I'm not going to worry about that right now, so I'm going to hit save and run. Okay, so it saved the report. So now, if I go back and I go to my default report, which has all those columns, they're like, oh, what happened to that report? Well, I can come up here and I can change my view to birth dates. So that's how you save the report. It's always, even if you're halfway through a report and you have to go to lunch or whatever, you have to take a break, you get a phone call, I suggest you always go in here and do the save as. Now, once you hit the save as and you're in the view, you no longer have to do save as. So let's say on this report, I decided, you know what, I want their address as well. So I could go to add remove column and I could do address. And I wonder if I have address full. So there's a field in here that will consolidate their entire address. I'm going to move it up to after their name. So now we have their address, their full address in here. And usually we don't use the full address because you want to get street, city, state, and zip separately, but you can use full address if you choose to. Now, if I save that report, I don't want to do save as. I want to do save because I'm already in the birth dates report. So I just want to make it a new one. So I'm going to save it. It'll come up with the name birth dates, and I can hit save. And that takes me, that saves that. So now I can go to, a different report and go back and come to the birth dates report. All right, so that's one area. I encourage everyone using this to test it. We have a question here. Hold on a second. Let me see. Sorry about that. Question, Regina, should you be sharing your screen? I should be. That was an old question. Sorry, Regina. So the other thing is, let's say you've got the report and you want to print it or export it. Very easy. So again, up here in the three dots, this ellipse is your friend here. So you can add columns, you can remove columns, you can save the report, you can export, you can print. So if all I want to do is print the report, I click print, and it's going to come up and kind of give me the default settings, and I can go ahead and send it to my printer. But in most cases, a lot of cases, we don't want to do that. We want to export the report. So what I'm going to do is go back here, and I'm going to export the report. Now, you can export it to a bunch of different formats. So I can export it to multiple Excels. I can send it to a PDF, an XML, text format, CSV. But right now, I'm going to send it to an Excel format. Now, you can also choose whether you want the headers or the footers. So you can check that, uncheck it. I'm actually going to keep it. It'll export the report, and then it'll show up in my downloads. If I go to my downloads, I open this up, and there's my report in Excel. So this is easy. And then this, let's close that one out. Okay, so I have that. Now the other things that I wanted to point out was let's see. I want to do a little bit of sorting, but for the sorting one, I'm kind of going to, yeah, let's say you want your you let's go back and take a look at a payroll register here. So payroll, and if you click on payroll, there's a ton of payroll reports. So I'm going to pull it real quick. You can search. There's a payroll register by pay statement. So I'm going to go in and I have to look at this year. So here's a payroll register for the year. Now this is a different sort of report because one field has this whole box. So it's a system generated field with the box. But with this particular report, or any report, you can still add fields. So let's say you want to add the employee's department. So I'm going to, for the purpose of grouping this report, so I'm going to add this. I'm going to type department, employee default department. We'll use that. So we've added the employees department, and we have two bakers and we have the rest managers. So for demonstration purposes, now let's say I want this report subtotaled and grouped by department. So if I go up to the department column, I can use this option called group. So if I click group, it then creates a group on the left, and it has the bakery with these employees. And wait, hold on. Cancel. I thought I had, not sure why it's doing that. So we had management and we had bakery. It's only two. The department one. Oh, I know why. Because there's a lot of checks here. So I'm going to change my view to by account. And I'm going to go to the date range and we're going to we'll put this year as well. So now, one of the things I did not show you is this filter here. So I'll show you that to you in a moment, but I wanted to get done with the column heading. So if you let's see. All right, so this is a summary. So there's 20 employees, and this is their pay summary for the year. So if I add to this report their department, oh yeah, we got a bunch of different ones. We have warehouse, bakery. Now if I group by department along the left, you're going to see a bakery department, a customer service department, and there should be a management department. And it gives you the detail and the summary with the totals. Now, again, if I want to save this, I would click up here and click Save As, and I would name it um, uh, and then I could come back to it. And you could add, just to let you know, in any of these reports, I wanted to show folks that there's a ton of columns available on the left to add. So you could add things like gender, eye color. There's things in here you probably are not putting in the system, but you could if you wanted to track it. There's tax information, like there's whole sections of, you know, what tax type they are, you know, what time zone they're in, or what their timesheet profile is if you're using timekeeping. There's anything, almost anything that's in the employee profile section is available to add to this particular report, as well as earnings. One thing I did want to go back and look at is the filtering of reports. So I'm actually going to go back to the report we did earlier. All right. And we did, now in the reports area, there's an area called My Save Reports. So if you don't want to go back into the hub, you can just go into My Save Reports to find one you previously wrote. Okay. And what we could do is I did one like called birth date, right? So I can type in, actually, I'm going to do it in the saved as name, the birth. What did I do? Was it birth date or was it, oh, oh, that's because it's equal. Now, let me show you a little bit about navigating. So I'm running into errors because I'm overlooking something. If I take out the filter, there's a ton of data here. There's a ton of reports. And this works for reports, it works for employees everywhere. In this area here, starting here and in the next two columns, is the filtering, the ability to filter. So with no filters, and if you look at the filter, there's nothing being filtered right here. The easy way to filter is go in and say, you know, whatever item you want to filter as, you can do like a like. And there's a lot of things that matching. That's equal. That has to be exactly equal. So if I put in here default equal default, I'll get those defaults. But if I put default 1, it's not going to see anything because it's not exact. But if I put in here like, and I put in the FAU, I get all the defaults, including others that fit that category. So I'm going to put in the birth date that we did last time, and there's the birth dates that we did previously. So I'm going to run that report, same thing, and now we have the ability to filter, we have the ability to export, we have the ability to look up, and that's a very important part when you're looking up employees. So if I go, this is actually still my employee information screen. So I can take out the word terminated here and I can see all employees. So right now, if you look at the bottom, there's 21 employees. If you guys can see this down below, you're looking at one of 21. But if I take out terminated and I hit enter, then all of a sudden I have 28 employees because there are other employees who were terminated. So you can always get back and look at terminated employees, but by default, most of your screens will be set up with this employee equal, not equal terminated in there so that you're not seeing terminated employees. At least it's a lot quicker. Some companies have hundreds or thousands of terminated employees. Um, Also, just a little about navigation. When I first come into a screen, and let's do this, let's go to the default screen. So right now, I'm in the default screen. And at the bottom, there's only 21. But next to here, there's this how many items to display on a page. You might get to some pages and there's not 200, it might say 10. So if I change it to 10, you're only seeing the first 10 of 21 records that are available through this filter. To get to the next page, you might have to hit the next. I don't find that very productive. What I like to do is whenever I'm in a screen that I know I'm going to come back to over and over again, I'll change it to the max 200, and then I'll go and I'll save it. So I'll go back and I'll save view, and I'll save the default, and I'll save it. And that way, when I come back, it'll always be I'll be seeing everything. Now I could, if you want to see your terminated employees and you delete terminated and you hit enter, now you're seeing 28 employees. And if I wanted that to be my default, I could do the same thing. I could save it and save. So if I go now to the birth date report, that one only has, has that. And if I go back to the default report, now I'm seeing all 28 employees, terminated employees. So are there any questions yet? Anyone have any? Feel free to pop through some questions. The next thing I wanted to show was back on the birthday report. This is some of the cool things the system has the ability to do. So now I've got a birthday in here, but let's say I like it. Yeah, this is nice, but I got a lot of employees and I want to see every month which birthday's coming up. So one of the things you could add here is you could add a column and we could do like birth. I think there's a field in here called the birthday month. So if we add that field, you're going to see that now it tells you what month this is, right, from the date. And you could actually go in and you could group by the birthday month. So now you could see whose people's birthdays are in January, February, whatever. And you could actually set this report up to send you a notification of whose birthday's coming up via email. And so this is kind of simplified, but if I go here and I'm like deliver with payroll or schedule a report, you could do that. Some of you may not have access to this, but if you don't, just ask your client service rep and we'll make sure you have access to it, or we set the report up to be delivered as you desire. And the system also has the ability to schedule emails a specific report. So if you're like, yeah, I want to get this report on the first of the month or the last day of each month for the next month, then you could do that. Kind of some cool stuff. Any questions? All right, so I want to the only other thing I want to show is kind of like an earnings report. So some of you may be thinking, okay, all this is fine and good, but I need to know what all my overtime was for a specific month or specific period, because I need to start focusing on that. You can go back to the reports area, reports, and I would go for that. It's a payroll report, so it's pay history, general ledger, figure out which report would work best. Pay history, pay statement. History. Now I'm trying to leave this page and it wants me to discard it. I'm going to actually save it. And then I'm going to go back to pay statement history. So if I go to pay statement history and I change this to this year, I should get some data here. Yep. Gross. So this is a very basic report. It shows you items from each paycheck. Um, one of the things I was going to show everyone is I don't love the fact that the system puts in first name, last name, because I don't really find that to be useful. So what I usually do is when I go to add remove columns, I'll remove those two columns. And then I'll go in and I'll hit last comment. There's a field in here called last name, first name, which I find very helpful. So I go in here and I put it close to the top so that when I'm looking at employee, there it is. I don't want to put it up in front of any buttons. So I'll do that. So just for the heck of it. So that's another thing that people I kind of like, and I can get rid of all these columns, but I don't necessarily want to. This particular form has deductions, total deductions, taxes, things like that. But you can actually go in here and you can add like overtime. So we have pay statement of earnings amount, pay statement hours, overtime. I'm going to add both of these at the same time. It's interesting that they have Alabama overtime. Okay, and so I'm going to just move that one up a little, hours overtime. So now, and of course, nobody had the overtime in this company this year. So, but you could actually create a report and show the overtime hours and then save it. You can come back to it and say, okay, who had overtime? So there's, or we could actually add maybe vacation hours. So let's see. Let's see if anyone had that. All right, I'm striking out here on the data, but I think everyone gets the general idea. You can add stuff. You can actually, in this report, you can put the employee's phone number. There's a bunch of things you can do. I wanted to kind of pause there or kind of wind it down and ask if there's any questions. Anybody have anything that they would like to suggest me look at? I have some time left. I'm going to I'm going to do a poll. Actually, it might be a little too late to do a poll because I had to set it up beforehand. But I see the people who are in the meeting. If it's okay, I think what we'd like to do is reach out to the people in the meeting and see if what kind of opinion you might have about this, and what there will be next. We're going to do another one of these, and it's going to be for advanced report writing. So when I mean advanced report writing, there's things we can do here. So let's say we go in and add remove columns. A little button down here says custom columns. So we can do all kinds of testing or, what if scenarios or mathematics versus, you can manipulate numbers that come out of the spreadsheet, so out of the system. So some people like to know what, like I have one staffing company that wants to know, what their bill rate is on this. So we end up, doing calculation for that. I think we have one person on the call that might apply to as well. But there's all kinds of cool things you can do. We do it with with a good number of clients that need above and beyond just what the columns show. So with that, I guess what I'm going to do is end the meeting, end the webinar. Feel free to reach out to your client service rep if you want a copy of this. That's great. Oh, a couple other things I wanted to show people if you're still on. The system has a ton of help, and I went through this on the last meeting. So if you're up here and you click this question mark at the top, you can search for a help topic. So you can actually go to, like, let's say I want to stop payment. We can search, or we can do a void. Most customers don't void themselves. You can void a transaction, there's all kinds of things. Sorry about showing you guys my text messages. And we got to learn how to mute those while I'm on a meeting. But that's it. I think I'm going to end there. We appreciate everyone joining. If there's any questions, please reach out to me or your client service rep. And hoping everyone had a great Thanksgiving and enjoys your holiday season.